Um, it's been a while since I've made a FireAlpaca video, and I'm very sorry about that. It's been about a year since I left home, and it's just been increasingly difficult to make these videos. So I'm starting over from scratch yet again to give everybody who's brand new to this program a chance to just get to know some of the basics. And I'm splitting a lot of these videos up into just different levels, like uh, saving, starting up, opening images, keyboard shortcuts, brushes, missing brushes, so on and so forth. So, disclaimer, this is a video for people who are brand new to any drawing programs. It's different from Paint, it's different from Photoshop, and so sometimes there are difficulties when you are first starting out. So, I will be going over just some of your basic stuff here. Like, here's our website. Of course, I use the English website because I am American, I speak English. However, you can see up here in the language section, they do have other languages for the site, and it's just FireAlpaca.com. I have the /en for English, and this is where you're going to download FireAlpaca. Once it's downloaded, the most current release that I have, and which is out on this day, April 5th, is 1.5.10. So let's open the program. Opening the program, you're going to get, as always, this little ad here from Medibang and other sites. I've seen Open Canvas and everything. Just press OK. It just tells you if you have any new updates out, really. And you'll always start with this gray screen. So starting with this gray screen, you're going to hit File, you're going to hit New. You can then create an image, however big or however small you want. It will keep a history of a lot of your sizes that you've used recently, which is pretty helpful. There's a lot of different options that you can have. You can have the width as pixels, centimeters, or inches, same with the height. You can reverse them with a click of the button instead of typing in your numbers. You can select paper sizes that maybe you're looking for specifically. You can set your resolution, dots per inch. So 350 is your standard, 600 is a little bit better if you're going to be scaling the image up. Say you're drawing it small and then you need it scaled up into a poster. 600 dots per inch will give you a better image. However, it does take up more space. Your background color can be transparent or in color, white, black, so on and so forth. Your initial color is either going to be 8-bit or color. I'm still new to the 8-bit, 16-bit, 64-bit, so I usually keep it as color. You'll then hit OK, and your image will show up. I'm now just going to go over very simply what the tools are that you have here on the side. You have a pen, an eraser, a dot tool. So your pen is just this. I'm not using my tablet right now, it's just my mouse. Your eraser, of course. Your dot brush, which gives you a hard edge. It works especially well if you're working with like a 50 by 50 image, because you can only get up to 3 pixels. This brush, you can actually see all the tool names. Is there a move brush? Not brush, move tool. Basically move whatever you have on your layer. You have, see, I always get those two. Fill, I'll call this the fill and I will just call that the color block. But anyway, your fill tool is just basically select your area, you can fill it with color. This is your bucket tool. Your bucket tool can fill an entire area. You can expand the edges up to 3 pixels if you're using something soft like your pen brush, a pencil brush, and you keep the anti-aliasing on. See, keeping it off will make it pixelized, keeping it on will keep it soft. You have your gradient tool, which from one end to the other, as foreground to background, and this is linear, so it's just a straight edge. You'll start with that black, end up with the white. You can see it's black to white, and I clicked from that black area and drug it down to the white. Basic on that tool. Your selection tool, basically select a square. Just like with your fill tool, you'll be able to have rectangle, ellipse, or polygon. Polygon is just a free select tool, but it only selects at angles. So I can select odd shapes, but I can't draw them myself. As usual, that will keep it either a soft edge or a hard edge. Your lasso tool is if you want to draw your own shape with all weird angles, just however you want, circles, so on. And that'll give you that, and that's another select tool. It's called your lasso. Your magic wand tool, which selects an entire area of color, will select off of all layers unless you tell it to reference only the layer. You have your pen select, so you can actually draw with the pen tool that you have, or any tool actually. You can use it for, say, a crayon or my candy brush, and that's all going to be selected. You can also erase selections with this, with any pen that you would like to select it with. Next up, you have your text. Your text will create another layer on top of the one that you have here. So if I were to select the text tool, place it here, move that out of the way, you can see it does create that second layer on top of your first layer. The only thing you can really do with it until you get a little bit more used to the program and look into the layers and everything, you can move it around. And that's basically it. You can't merge it down or anything, but you can copy it. From there, you just have your pen tools, just your pointer, object tool. Object and panel divide are both tools that I have yet to use, so I don't have an opinion on them, and I don't have any good ways of using them. So your object and panel divide, both I have yet to find a lot of use for. However, I'm pretty sure that they will be used more for the animators who are coming into this program, which this program has just gotten into an animation upgrade, which is very helpful. Your eyedropper tool is the next one down the list here. Pretty much, I want to select the basic color about right here. You're going to click, and that's going to show up there as your main color. Finally, you just have this tool, which is the hand tool. You can click and move it wherever you want. Works just like your navigation up here. Just click and move it. It works a lot better after you've flipped your canvas and so on. The next thing I will be getting to are these windows that you see. Your brush preview, your brush, your color, your brush control, the navigator, the layer, the palette, and the reference. I'm not going to be going too far into these. Pretty much your brush preview is what your brush is going to look like. Let me drag this out so I can show you. So right now this is my pen brush, and that's what my pen brush is going to look like. If I were to select, say, my kimono fish pattern brush, you would see that it would turn into these little fish that I had drawn a while ago. And that's what my brush is going to end up ultimately looking like. It's going to be right color. It's going to be those. And this is a brush that I have changed. You can see that down here in the brush control. Anyway, moving down the list, you have brushes, which you've seen me click a few times. It's pretty much just a bunch of brushes. You can add a brush. You can add a brush via PNG, which is what the fish were. So any image that you have that is a .png, you can create into a brush. This is your bitmap brush, which if you have a bitmap brush, you're welcome to use that as well. Your brush folders, which you can see here is my gemstone, snow, foliage, texture, and sparkle. can just make a new one. It'll ask you to make a name for it, and you'll just get one of these little tabs up here. They're great for organizing. You can copy a brush. Say you need 2 airbrushes, which I do have because of the programming that the program automatically comes with. I got 2 airbrush brushes, and I use them both. So if I wanted to copy the airbrush, if I wanted to copy the oil brush, you just hit that button and you can give it different settings. And then you can also delete brushes, which sometimes happens. And if you delete something like your watercolor brush, you just come here to New Brush, go select Watercolor, and you can change all the settings from there. Next up you have color. You have 2 options for color, which is up here in your file, edit, layer, select, so on and so forth. You just go over to color, and you either have the color bar, which I have here, or your color wheel, which is here. It depends on who you are, on which one you like better. And it's pretty simple. Select your color that you like. You have the entire spectrum at your beck and call. Next is your brush control. Your brush control shows up as you're editing brushes as well. So let me just give you an example. So I have my edit brush. You double click on your brush and then you can edit anything you'd like on it. I'll just use my custom made brushes because it does give you the most options and I can explain everything off of that. So you have your width, which is also right here. This width will be what it's programmed as. So the go-to every time I open this program for my circle brush is 206. It'll be 206 here. If I change it here, it will not change the programming. It'll just change the size in general. The minimum width I usually have as 80, and you do not get that here. You get the transparency here. So how transparent do you want it? Well, I want it as opaque as I can get it, so it's going to be at 100. If I want it at 50, I would move it down to 50, so on and so forth. You also do not get your size or opacity by pressure, which is used for a tablet. So you don't get to change those options here, but you can change them here. I can't scroll down on here either. So you can see that you do not have them here. You can change your scatter strength, which, opening this back up, if I want to change my scatter strength, the higher the number, the more cluttered it is, the lower the number, the less. That's set to 3. Your particle size, so bigger the number, the bigger, smaller the number, the smaller. Your randomization, you can see that little one next to that huge one. I keep it, or this one's at 100 because I want that little tiny one next to that big one. But if you move that number down, they're all going to be generally the same size. You do get those options here on the side as well. You also get the particle rotate and the apply foreground color on the side. So if I wanted them to spin, like I have with my fish, you can see that they're going to rotate randomly as well as keep the color that I have selected. The last 2 options, which are also in the bottom of this, are your color and your hue jitter. The color and hue jitter is how much the color is going to jitter. Like if I have this all the way at green and I have the color all the way up, it'll be every shade of green. However, if I have the color all the way down and the hue all the way up, it'll turn into the general rainbow color at this approximate level. So it'll be constant at that level. So you'd get it right about there the entire time and through all your colors of the rainbow. That's the difference between the hue and the color jitter. And those are just however you wish to apply them. Next I'll be going over to the other side, and just know that you can change any of these. You can take your brush and you can move it over here. So I'll keep mine as they are, but everybody else is going to be different. So over here, you're going to get, I keep my Navigator, which is basically where I am on the image. And also will have your rotation. I want to flip it to see it the other way. This will not change how it's saved. The FireAlpaca will always be as it was. This just helps mirror your image so you can get certain details that maybe you couldn't see one way or the other. You can rotate it by a specific degree. Mine is set to 15 degrees. You can rotate that all the way and you can snap it back to normal. You can zoom out, zoom in, or have it fit the screen. And that's very basic Navigator. It works best if you're just zoomed into your image. You want to go back over here, maybe over here, and then zooming out. Basic use for Navigator. Next we have our layers. So layers is pretty easy. How opaque do you want it? The kind of blending, it will just be dependent on how you want to play around with the program. You can protect alpha, you can clip down to the layer, and you can lock them. I'll be going over those in later videos. You have all of your layer names. So right now I have 2. If I wanted a new one, I'd click the new button. And I'd get that third layer. If I wanted that layer clipped to that bottom one, which it would clip to the whole thing. Like I said, I'll be going over that a little bit later. But that third layer, if I were to draw something over that, if I were to take that flower, just put a bunch of flowers there, and that was my layer on top, I can make that go away. It will save with that layer transparent, so you will not be able to see it upon saving, if you would like, or if you would not like. You can create folders for your layers, put them all in folders and make them look nice and pretty. Keep them organized. You can merge your layer down, like I want that layer to be part of that layer. You're going to hit your merge button. I want 2 of those layers. You can hit your duplicate. These are other types of layers. 8-bit, and I forget the other one. And you can also delete layers. Finally, you have your reference and palette, or at least I do. Reference works best if you're drawing off of another image and you need colors that maybe you don't have in your palette. So you would select new, just like you have new here and you have new there. You have new here, and you can open up that. And you can open it up for almost any kind of image you'd like. So I'm going to open up this cutie mark. And you can see that I can get to the entire image. I can select colors off of the image. I can get nice and in close to get those details. And it keeps the image at the same side. And as always, you can switch it, rotate it, snap it back. The last thing I have here is my palette. My palette is basically just the colors that I have saved with names. So if I use the colors a lot, the colors are going to be in my palette, which it helps a lot if you're drawing a lot of the same thing over and over and over again. And so that's your basic on your windows. Next, next is just for the bare minimum basics, it's just going to be saving. I've gotten a lot of questions about saving because it's not a program that's entirely normal to saving. So you're going to hit save or save as, depending on how you want your image saved. When you're just saving the image, it doesn't matter which one you hit, so I'm just going to hit save. My window's going to pull up with all my save stuff. And you're going to save it as a name. Mac is going to have tags. You can save it as pretty much just whatever. I can put in spaces. And then you can save it like that. Keeping it as the MDP, the FireAlpaca go-to saving, it'll keep all of my layers as they are, but it will not upload to other sites. So to do that, now that it's already saved once, you can hit save again. And when you hit save again, it'll save to the same file that you have pulled up. So it doesn't matter. I can't rename it. I can't do anything. If you want to save it as a separate image, or you want to save it as a separate file type, you're going to hit save as. Hitting save as, you'll get the same name that you got before. If you were to just hit save, the save option would just say, oh, you already have an image like this. Okay, well now you can hit that little button. There's my little drop down menu. Then you can save it as a PNG, a JPEG, a bitmap, and a PSD, your Photoshop. So yes, this program can open up Photoshop files before you ask any questions. It doesn't always work out the best, but it is possible to do so. So bitmap is brushes, JPEG and PNG are both for images, either just depending on what quality you want it saved as. So I have mine selected as a PNG. I'm going to put it in my folder. I'm going to hit save, and you're going to get this little pop-up. Your layers can't be saved separate. Do you want to process it? Yes, it's going to flatten out your image. By flattening out your image, you're only going to get the one layer. You can't go in and edit your FireAlpaca layer anymore. You can't go in and edit your folder anymore. It's just going to be the image. That's about it. Your settings are either going to be transparent or 24-bit. It's personal preference. If you have a transparent background, the 24-bit will save it with a white background. If not, you're going to save it as transparent. You're going to hit OK. My computer's going to take a bit to save it as that PNG. And I'm going to exit out of this. And I'm going to show you what I meant before. So it's going to be File, Open, and I have it just recently saved, so I'm going to hit Open Recent File, and that'll pull my image back up. As you can see, it's back to that one layer. I can always come back and put more layers in, hit save, and it'll complain again about it having layers. You just say okay, you can flatten them, and it'll save as your PNG again. And that is the bare bones basics for everybody who's brand new to this program. I do wish you the best of luck in drawing, and I will see you